to Retire Smart Maryland. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, and I am joined today by Prashant Sabapathy of Elite Income Advisors. And to our viewers at home, we're talking about a very important topic today, long-term care. We know there's a lot of questions surrounding long-term care. What is it? Will you need it? How do you pay for it? We're going to do a deep dive in with Prashant this morning. Prashant, how are you today?
I'm doing excellent. Thanks, Cynthia. How are you?
I am fantastic. Thank you so much for asking. And I love our time together in the studio because we uncover such amazing topics that the viewers are curious about. And I love this one today because we get a lot of questions about this. I know you do specifically, of course, but people are wondering, like, what exactly is long-term care? Is it Medicare? Is it Medicaid? What is it? Where does it fall? What is long-term care?
There's something called the Nationwide Retirement Institute, and they did a study about people's perception of long-term care. And one of the things that they found is 3 in 10 poll participants that they ended up surveying believe that they actually had long-term care insurance because they had health insurance. And this, I think, is one of the biggest kind of things that is misunderstood about healthcare and retirement is typically health insurance is not going to cover long-term care. They're two incredibly different things that we have to be prepared for. So when we talk about long-term care, we're talking about things like assisted living, in-home nursing, nursing homes, hospice, those types of things that require extended care do not typically fall under traditional health insurance, which also means that it doesn't typically fall under the traditional Medicare program. Right. So long-term care is this whole other sphere of retirement planning that, in my opinion, you have to be prepared for. I've shared my story several times on this show and on my podcast and radio program as well. But my mother went through a long-term care situation. For the better part of 7 or 8 years, she had dementia. And so when that happened, we were forced as a family to figure out how we were going to help take care of her. And we decided on in-home nursing care. And I'll tell you what, Cynthia, having gone through that experience with my father, my brother, myself, what we found is the cost of long-term care can get enormous in retirement. And thank goodness that we had done a good job in planning for it. And thank goodness that we had the resources to deal with it, because at the end, it was costing upwards of $10,000 per month to take care of mom at home. But for those of you who might not have thought about long-term care or how it will affect you or how it's going to affect your ability to retire and most importantly, stay retired, I think it's something that we have to address. So there's different ways to do it. I'd love to kind of get into that today, but I think that's a good starting point on what is the difference between long-term care and just your traditional health insurance.
Sure. And the other question that people are asking a lot is, who typically needs long-term care? Who typically needs it?
Yeah, so I mean, you're looking at the retired population. Certainly, you see the statistics show that when you are starting to get over the age of 65 or 70 years old, that tends to be the time frame when we're seeing more long-term care cases. So as a good rule of thumb, you want to start thinking about how to protect yourself from long-term care around 50 years old, and then really start making decisions on maybe it's purchasing insurance or setting aside different buckets of money to deal with your long-term care potential needs in the future around 55 or 60 years old. I think that is a great starting point to at least begin the exploration of that conversation to figure out, hey, if we have an extra $10,000 a month expense due to assisted living or nursing care, how are we going to deal with that? Because I think there's a huge embedded tax issue when it comes to long-term care as well. And that's simply because, look, most of our clients are really great at saving money. And I've said this before, but when they saved money, they saved it into their pre-tax retirement accounts. We're talking about things like 401ks, IRAs, TSP. And the issue there is that every time I go to withdraw from those pre-tax retirement accounts, I have to then pay Uncle Sam along the way. And so now if I have a $10,000 a month additional income need to fund my long-term care, I might have to withdraw $13,000, $14,000, or $15,000 a month just to net the 10 I need to take care of long-term care. And I'll tell you what, $15,000 a month, even if you did a great job saving, you have $1.5 million, $2 or $3 million. If the market crashes and you're pulling that kind of money out of your portfolio all at the same time, it could lead to a tremendous amount of disaster. So you have to have a plan in place. And in my opinion, it must be a written plan that you can go lean on and refer to when things get choppy.
And I'm glad that you brought that up, Prashant, because the next question is number 3, how do I pay for long-term care? I mean, people are really nervous about this, especially if they're with the understanding that it's part of their Medicare, it's part of their health insurance, and then all of a sudden they find out, no, it's not. This is going to be additional. I mean, a lot of people are thinking about taking out home equity lines to help pay for that. And you shouldn't have to do that, not when you're in the retirement years.
Look, I think the earlier you start this planning process, the easier it's going to be to deal with in the future. I'll tell you what we did. This is kind of an interesting use case of the use of something like an annuity, right? Now, I know annuities are really polarizing, but we love them for creating guaranteed income for our clients. So this is what I did for somebody, a couple months ago. They came in, they had about $2 million saved for retirement. We knew that in the future, they had the potential for having a long-term care need. So one of the things that we did is we took a piece of their retirement portfolio, took about $350,000 and placed it into what's called a deferred annuity contract. And 10 years from now, when they're 65 years old, that will be able to generate for them a stream of income. Now, if they never use that stream of income for long-term care, we can reallocate it for their retirement income. But with that additional stream of income, we can use it to pay in part for things like long-term care insurance, pay for Medicare, pay for long-term care expenses as well. And we did that by just carving off about 15%, 16% of their portfolio 10 years before they retire to deal with a potential for future long-term care needs. So the best thing you can do, in my opinion, is start that planning process as early as possible. If you're 50 or 55 years old, you have to start thinking about what life may look like when you're 75 or 80 years old. Look, folks, I've lived through this with my family. My mom was, 57 years old when she was diagnosed with dementia. And by the time she was, 64, 65, it was around the clock, $10,000 a month care. The only way we were able to get through that is because we did a lot of that planning as early as possible without ever knowing what would have happened to her. Thank goodness we did. If you haven't gone through that process of planning, now is the time to start. You have to start today. And I think that you should work with a specialist and someone with experience who has dealt with this type of thing. If you've never thought about how to fund your long-term care needs in the future, potentially, pick up the phone and give us a call. I'm going to open up the phone lines right now. It's 833-308-5200. My team of operators is standing by. But when you call that number, you're going to be able to schedule a free, folks, it is 100% free of cost to you, a consultation to come in and visit with my team at Elite Income Advisors. You'll meet with Ozzy, Nick, Mike, Connor, the team, and they're going to take really great care of you when you come in. They're going to have a conversation about your retirement plan, and we'll help you put together what we call the Retire Smart Roadmap. It'll help you map out your income each and every month and year for the rest of your life. We'll take into account the threat of rising inflation and rising taxes. And as an add-on to that Retire Smart Roadmap, we will have a conversation about how you could potentially worry about funding your long-term care needs. Those appointments are 100% free. There is no obligation. It's just for you to come in, get a look at what you're doing, and figure out whether or not my team is the right fit to even help you out. Starts with that phone call, 833-308-5200.
Prashant, thank you so much. To the viewers at home, that number to call is on your screen, 833-308-5200. We realize that you're in the viewing audience today and you're asking yourself, do I have a plan for my long-term care? What about my spouse? What about someone else in the family? It's very important to plan ahead, as you can see from what Prashant is sharing with you today, and this is the perfect opportunity for you to do so. Go ahead and call in to 833-308-5200, or even simpler still, just grab your smartphone, click on that QR code at the bottom corner of your screen. That will take you right to Elite Income Advisors landing page. You can claim your time accordingly. We're going to take a very short commercial break here on Retire Smart Maryland. Don't go anywhere. We're talking all about long-term care. We'll have so much more when we return.
I was always big on the numbers. Growing up, always had a spreadsheet, making budget. My father and my uncle, they were both kind of in the financial service industry. It's like I love the numbers. I like helping the people.
𝐒𝐎𝐍𝑖 and I have been working together really for 12 years now. We both worked at a big insurance company.
One day my manager came in and he introduced me to Prashant, and he said, hey, you know, I do think that you guys might be a good match to each other. He just graduated from the school.
I think we both kind of just knew right then that it was a really good fit.
We start working together, then I found this business that was going to be up for sale. And I said, like, you know, I'm interested. And then we get into a deal, and I asked Prashant if he wants to join, and he says, yeah, sure, why not?
We transitioned our insurance practice from the original owner who was retiring, and then we co-founded together Elite Income Advisors. What motivates me, my mom was diagnosed with frontal lobe dementia when I first started. That's kind of what gives me the passion to do what I do. I know how stressful it can be, so I've lived through not just the financial side of dealing with that, but if I can help other people, you know, navigate some of the things that I've personally experienced.
Welcome back to Retire Smart Maryland. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, joined today by Prashant Sabapathy of Elite Income Advisors, and we're talking all about long-term care and helping you plan ahead for long-term care needs. Prashant, I should ask you a question. One of the other questions that people are asking are, what are the different types of long-term care services available?
Yeah, so there's a wide range here. You can get into things like skilled nursing. You can get into things like assisted living, which is, of course, kind of like, you know, around-the-clock care in more of a home-like setting. And then you can get into nursing homes, right? Nursing homes, whether it's semi-private or private room in a nursing home. So there's a lot of different levels of long-term care out there. I think the most important thing that we run into is what is going to be the best thing for your loved one. Like, what do you want to have happen in the event that your spouse or someone that is in your family goes through a long-term care situation? When my mom was diagnosed, we made a decision as a family that we wanted to keep her in our family home. And that's what was important to us. Now, that doesn't mean that's the right way to do it for every single person, but that's just what we wanted to do. And so we had to plan accordingly for how we were going to deal with that. Of course, in-home care, round-the-clock in-home care can really get up there in price, whereas something like an assisted living could be a little bit more affordable. You know, my father specializes in geriatrics in the Ellicott City area, and so he's in the nursing homes and assisted livings all the time. So he tells me often what the cost of these places are. And, you know, Dad always tells me you can get a pretty nice assisted living in the Howard County area for $6,000 or $7,000 a month. But when you get into skilled nursing and you get into in-home care, I mean, I've seen clients go into care that costs $10,000, $12,000, or $14,000 a month for a private room in a nursing home. So I think what it comes back to is, if this happens to you, what is your plan going to be? The way I look at it is, whether we've written that plan out or not, we all have a plan. I mean, if you run up a bill at a nursing home and they become a creditor, they're going to try to come after assets to be able to pay those unpaid long-term care expenses. So we have to start talking about this stuff proactively. We have to put a written plan in place so that we can deal with this when it happens.
Well, you specialize in that so often, Prashant, because I know clients come in and you look at creative ways to help them pay for these things. Let's talk a little bit about some of the clients that you've helped recently. Yeah,
so one case comes to mind where I had a client, did a really great job saving money, $2.5 million. Unfortunately, her husband passed away some time ago. And one of the things that she asked me is, she got to the age of the required minimum distribution. And she had to take out about $60,000 of income every year. And she has a pension. She's got some Social Security coming in. So she doesn't need that required minimum. So she's taking out $60,000 a year. And she always asks me every single year, Prashant, what should I do with this money? After tax, it's about $45,000. I said, why don't we put in a plan to help protect you against long-term care? Now, keep in mind, when she started taking this required minimum, at the time, she was about 70 and a half years old when she took that money out.
Okay.
So for a 70 and a half year old, what we were able to do is take a piece of that required minimum. Let's just say that she was getting about $40,000 a year after taxes. We took about 35,000 of that 40,000 and we invested it into a life insurance policy that actually had long-term care benefits in it. Cynthia, believe it or not, it provides her with a cumulative total of nearly $1.5 million of long-term care benefits.
Wow.
But here's the other thing that's really neat about it. Previously, 10, 15, 20 years ago, people used to purchase long-term care insurance, but the main issue that they saw was that it was use or lose. The concern was, what if I pay all these years for a long-term care policy and then I just pass away of natural cause? Did I just pay 20 years of premiums for a benefit that I never really got to realize?
Exactly.
Consumers don't like spending money and getting no benefit out of it, which I totally understand. Right. And so what the insurance companies have done is they've actually changed the way these insurance plans work. Now what you can do is you can actually get a life insurance policy that has a long-term care benefit. So if you get sick, you can access the long-term care piece of it.
Wow.
But when you pass away, anything that is unused of the long-term care actually goes tax-free, income tax-free, to your beneficiaries. And so for this client, what we were able to do is take that $35,000 a year, set up $1.5 million of long-term care benefit in the event that she gets sick. But if she never gets sick, we get to pass that $1.5 million on to her beneficiaries, 100% income tax free.
Wow.
And we were doing it with money that she had to take out anyway because the IRS was forcing her to.
Oh my
gosh.
And
she said, one of the things she said when we set it up is she said, Prashant, how come no one's ever told me about this before? How come none of my friends have this plan? And I think the answer is because they might not be working with the right specialists. So many advisors these days are so focused on helping people grow their money. And I get that. But at some point, we have to look at protecting your assets from volatile markets, from high inflation, from high taxes, and from long-term care. And when you work with the right specialist, that can be the difference between being able to protect your assets and not.
Most definitely. And like you mentioned, Prashant, so many people are caught up in the accumulation phase of life, but there's a shift that happens. We talked about that as bridging the gap. Let's talk a little bit about that before we open up the phones.
My whole philosophy on how to get to and through retirement is you got to think safety first. At some point in time, losses will hurt you more than gains help you. I write it in my book. I say it almost every show. The closer you are to retirement, losses hurt more than gains help. And so safety first. And as you're bridging that gap from your working life to retirement, you have to think, how can I protect my assets from market volatility, from inflation, from the threat of rising taxes, and the threat of a long-term care spend down? Folks, if your advisor is not talking to you about these four things, you might not be working with the right retirement specialist. So what I want you to do is pick up that phone. Give me a call. It's 833-308-5200. When you call that number, our team of operators is standing by. You're going to schedule that appointment in Ellicott City with my great team of specialists, and they're going to come in and visit with you and put together that Retire Smart roadmap. We will help you map out your income for the rest of your life. We'll show you tax-efficient strategies for how you can reuse your RMD income to protect yourself from long-term care spend down. We'll talk about the threat of rising taxes and inflation. We will help you through that process, but it's on you to pick up that phone, make the phone call. If you can't write the number down, take out your smartphone, scan the QR code as well.
Prashant, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, that number to call is on your screen. It's 833-308-5200. You've worked your entire life to get the retirement years. Don't you deserve to have the retirement roadmap drawn for you? If you have questions about long-term care, if you have questions about how you're going to pay for long-term care, as Prashant mentioned, what people are actually hearing for the very first time are things that they've never heard before until coming into the office. Let them design the plan that's going to suit your needs. Again, 833-308-5200. We're going to take a very short commercial break here on Retire Smart Maryland. Don't go anywhere. We're talking all about long-term care and that affects you overall. We'll be right back.
As Americans, we strive for better. Better house, better career, to better the lives of our kids. Better's become the American way. But when it comes to your retirement, what does better mean to you? More income, flexible lifestyle, better solutions? A better retirement begins with a plan. To get your complimentary written financial plan, call the number you see here. You only retire once. This is your opportunity. Plan for better.
Welcome back to Retire Smart Maryland. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, joined today by Prashant Sabapathy of Elite Income Advisors, and we're talking all about long-term care and how you can plan properly for that during your retirement years. Prashant, so many questions circulating around long-term care, of course. One of the next one that comes up is, how can I make the transition to long-term care easier for my loved one? And I know that you went through it with your mom. Let's spend some time really talking about that.
Look, I think that when you have a loved one that's going through it, your focus should be on getting them the best quality care and taking good care of them.
Yes.
Okay, it shouldn't be stressing about your financial life. Now, I understand with the added expenses, that stuff can really be an added stress. Okay, having a written plan in place allows you to offload that stress because you've already thought about it and just focus on what is truly important, getting your family member, your loved one, the best possible care that, quite frankly, they deserve, right? And so that's exactly what happened with my mom, right? Thank goodness we did a lot of the pre-planning. And so when it was time to actually take care of mom, we were able to find the best caretakers for her. We were able to take care of her the way that we wanted to so that she was comfortable. And that's one thing that my family, my father's really, really proud of, that we were able to keep her in the house, get her the best possible care that we could. And when she passed away, it was peaceful because, you know, we had done a lot of that pre-planning ahead of time. So I think that's very important. It all starts with having that written plan that you can fall back on. And when you have that, it just makes everything else that much easier because it's one of the most stressful things you can go through as a family.
Absolutely. And are you finding that most people don't have a plan for long-term care when they're coming in for the first time? Because we opened the show talking about how often people think that it's part of their already in place Medicare and health care. Is that one thing that's usually missing from someone's plan?
I think it is. And I think that it's just human nature, right?
Yeah.
We don't want to think about things that are morbid things to think about.
It's true.
And so I don't fault anyone for not wanting to think about that phase of their life. But the reality is, if we get there and we don't have a plan in place, it's going to be that much more difficult to deal with down the road. So I'm a big believer that we have the conversation now. We do as much pre-planning as we can. And here's one thing I think people don't oftentimes realize is how integrated long-term care is with the rest of your financial plan. I mean, you know, the amount of expense that you take on for long-term care is directly going to affect things like your retirement portfolio. Well, why is that? It's because you're going to have to dip into that retirement portfolio at a higher rate if you have this extra expense. And the more you dip in, the higher the probability is that you might run out of money one day.
It's true.
And so remember, retirees' number one concern is going to be running out of money before running out of life. And so what we try to help our clients with is figuring out a well-rounded plan to not ever run out of money and not ever run out of income. And I think once you do that and you put it in writing and you have something to lean on during the hard times, that's what gives you the confidence to be stress-free as it possibly can be, I should say, in retirement.
Makes perfect sense. And Prashant, if we have viewers in the audience today, let's just say they're watching us for the very first time and they're wondering, should I pick up the phone and call in? Should I click on that little QR code? Talk about what happens next when they make that decision to be advocate of their own care. What happens next?
So when you call that phone number, you come in to visit with us, you're not agreeing to do business with us. You're not agreeing to become a client. In fact, we're not agreeing to take you as a client. But what we are doing is we're figuring out exactly what you need to make sure that you are on track. Now, through our process, we might find that our team is a good fit for you and you might be a good fit for us. And if that is the case, maybe there will be an opportunity for us to work together. But for every single person that comes in, you'll be able to sit down with our team of specialists and just have a conversation about what your retirement should look like. You tell us what's important to you, and we'll do an analysis for you to show you whether or not you are on the right track. Cynthia, I have people come into the office And sometimes we actually find that they're in great shape. And if they're in great shape, they might not actually need to make any changes. And so we might not be the best fit for them. And that's totally okay. But for a lot of the people that come in, we're able to identify 1, 2, 3 red flags that they simply haven't yet thought of. And if we find that, we can share with you different solutions that we've used with several hundred other clients that have allowed them to feel a little bit more at peace with their retirement plan. And if we can do that, maybe we'll find an opportunity to work together. That first visit, it's about an hour long. You come in, visit with us. We'll share with you the work that we do. We'll get to understand your situation. You'll ask us as many questions as you would like. And then when you come back for that second appointment, we will present to you on our big screen TVs in every one of our offices your own customized Retire Smart roadmap. Help you map out your income, help you optimize your Social Security, talk about the threat of rising taxes and inflation and how you might deal with that. And then we'll go through that long-term care plan, make sure that you are on as solid of a footing as you can be as you go into retirement. So all you have to do is pick up the phone and give us a call. It's 833-308-5200. Go ahead.
And Prashant, another question that people are asking is there a perfect age to start planning for long-term care and retirement planning overall before we close the show?
Look, I always talk about who's a great fit for us and who's not. Most of our clients are not under the age of 50 years old. So if you're over the age of 50, if you're between 50 and 75 years old, whether you're still working, or we have a lot of people that come in who are already retired who are still concerned about these things, it's a great opportunity to come in and visit with us. It's an hour of your time to come in, and we tell every single person at any point in the process, if you feel like we're not the right fit for you, you can just be upfront with us on that. We'll still see you around town. I will still shake your hand. We'll still say hello. There's no hard feelings.
I doubt that happens very often. I mean, I've known you for years.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, most of the people that come in, we're able to help them with at least 1 or 2 things, whether it's a Roth conversion, an old rollover from an IRA to help create a little bit more safety and a little bit more certainty surrounding their income, whether it's long-term care or tax planning. There's a lot of different things that we talk about. And so come on in, visit with us. We'll help you identify those red flags. If there's something we can work together on, that's great. If not, we'll go our separate ways. No hard feelings. Starts with that phone call, folks. Last opportunity for today's program. It's 833-308-5200. What we'll do is if you scan the QR code, you can also request a totally 100% free copy of my book. It's Fiscal Health, Retirement Wealth. Happy to give you a copy of this one as well.
Prashant, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, thank you for spending time with us today. Don't miss the opportunity to claim your book. Be safe, be happy, be blessed. We'll see you 1 week from today. Take care.